Hello everyone. Welcome to my group or my page or my YouTube, wherever you're visiting from. Okay, I am Judy Mullins and my business is Vintage to Chic. I'm going to show you today how to finish a teapot here, and in the interest of time I've already started it, so I'm going to explain to you what all I have done so far. These are vintage. I've painted very many teapots and tea sets through the years, through my years of painting. I'll post all my links. I'm Vintage to Chic all the way across the board everywhere you look, and I'll post all my links below and you know what you need to know as we go along. Okay, this teapot is an old silver plate teapot, probably come from one of the thrift stores or a yard sale. I'm always looking for them, always picking them up. Okay, this one I'm going to paint. I'm painting it in two colors. To begin with, I spray painted it white. I always start with white, and I like to spray paint because I like my paint to be nice and smooth. So I use a Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 paint and primer in one in a spray paint. And I just spray it outdoors, of course, and you have to spray it lightly until you get a good coverage on it. Now, since I'm not leaving any of this one white, if I've painting over everything, nothing will be white on it when I'm finished. So it's not important that I get it covered completely. It's just a base coat, like a primer is what has put on it to begin with. Okay, then I have chose a turquoise that I had mixed at either Lowe's or Home Depot, one of the places this comes from. I had this mixed some years ago, and I use it to custom paint a tea set for a lady, and it's been such a good one that this is, so I'm not sure what what color it is. It's just a turquoise, as you can see on here. When I buy paints, when I look for paints, I look for colors I like, not something that's a particular name. If you go to Lowe's or to Home Depot, one of the paint stores, and you go through the colors and you see something in the color swatches that you like, just have it mixed, and you can mix these little, what they call sample paints, and it's just a flat house paint is all it is, and you can use those for a lot of your painting and crafts. A lot of them I use white from the store like that, and I use colors or if I have a color, say I have this color and I can no longer buy it, if you take this to one of the stores, they'll paint match it for you and mix it for you. So you can take that in, they'll take a sample of it, and they'll mix you a container that will be near that same color. I've got a fly buzzing around here, so you're probably going to see him crossing the screen here in my shop out here. Okay, what I've done so far is this one, I took the lid. The lid was separated from it completely, so I always have my son to sand that piece off if the lid doesn't, is not hinged onto the top of the thing. I spray painted it white all over, put the white on it. Then I put the coats, probably took 3 coats of this turquoise to get that covered good. I did this yesterday because I like to get all my base colors on and then wait till like the next day to paint it. And it's too long a project to do all in one time on a video. So I'm doing it, I'm showing you what I've done so far. Okay, now after I paint a lot of stripes and checks and harlequin patterns, I've done that for 10-15 years too. I paint a lot of those things. You can visit me on Facebook, you can visit me on Etsy. I have 2 Etsy shops, and you'll be able to see the things that I have done. Now, the way I like to section off when I'm painting stripes or checks or whatever, I use cardboard. I use poster paper or cardstock, and I measure and make all these little patterns. I've cut and measured everything from 1/4 inches up to 3 or 4 inches, whatever I think I'll use. Then I just mark on them what they are. This one is a 3/4 inch. Then when I get ready to do my designs, this is what I use. Now, when you're painting stripes, you need to paint, I'm looking for a white, I've got a white pencil here. I painted that all blue, and I'm going to put black stripes around it, and then I'm going to do the top of it with a sponge and with my fingers and make it some white, and then we're going to paint the handles and stuff with some black and gold and some different colors. But what you need to do when you figure out your pattern, I start in a spot. Now the middle of your teapot the middle right here is going to be the widest point of that stripe, and then as it goes down, it's going to get smaller. It can't be the same size at the top that it is at the bottom, because this is a rounded piece. So what I do is you always have to have an even number. An even number, if you're going to do stripes or you're going to do checks, you have to have an even number, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, so on. Okay, so I started right here in the middle, and I took my chalk pencil, this one writes like chalk, and I made a mark on each side. And I worked my way around, and I made a mark for every one until I made sure that I come out with an even number. And I think sometimes you may have to change the size of your stripes. You can go a smaller stripe, you can do a larger stripe. You may have to change them to get an even number, but you've got to figure it out around there how much of an even number you have to get the right number of stripes to go in there. Okay, I think I ended up with 20 on this one. Then after I got the center marks in there, because you can't go straight up and down, so you can't lay this on here and go all the way from the top to the bottom on this card. You just make you a little hatch mark on each side of the card. Then when you get them all figured and got your things, I went back around to the side, and these I have done, you can't really see. I've got little white hatch marks. I don't want my white to show, my marks to show. So I started with a little hatch mark that I have in the middle here, and it's easier to make it in hatch marks and come up to the top and down to the bottom than it is to make one continuous stroke. So I start with the one I had here, and I just go little marks all the way up till I'm at the top. And I do that on both sides of that checks. Like I said, my fattest point is here. As it gets to the top, it gets a little more slender, and as it gets to the bottom, it gets a lot. Then I reverse it. After I go to the top, I reverse it, and I come back down, and I take those marks down to the bottom. And that allows me to have a straight line down through there. Now I've got a stripe all the way down there in little tiny hatch marks is what I've got on there. Okay, and that's what I'm going to put the black in. Now, like I said, for the interest of time, I already started putting my black stripes in. I've got about half of them in. I didn't want you to have to just sit here and watch me paint black stripes. So I did that, went ahead and done that. When you paint stripes or checks, I use very little paint. Anytime I paint, I use the least amount of paint I can get by with. I don't want a lot of paint to go up in this brush and to go up in the ferrules. I want my paint to stay right on the end of that brush. So I never go over and just dab in that paint. I go to the side of it and I sneak in and I get a little bit of paint on my brush. Now I'm over to this stripe right here. You need a good chisel edge brush. Your brushes need to be flat and a good chisel edge. These come from Hobby Lobby, and I buy them in a case pack, what they call a class, C-L-A-S-S, class pack. And there's like 15, 20 brushes in a package for like $30 or so, and then when they're on sale you get them half price. And these I find are really good for keeping a good flat edge on them, and I go through so many of them. Used to be years ago when we painted, brushes were very, very expensive, and they still are for some brushes. But if you can find a good brush that's not expensive that works for you, because I can use this when they're cheap, they don't cost me a lot, so I can use this one for a week or so, and then it doesn't bother me to discard it or use it for something that I'm using as a scruffy brush. But I need that good flat edge. I need that flat edge to make my stripe with. So I'm going over here on my palette. I'm going to get into the black. I just put me out some black paint, and I'm going to load that brush on both sides, but I don't have much on there. Now I'm going to let the edge of that brush do the talking for making my stripe. So I'm coming right down here where my stripe starts, and I'm going to set that brush down, bring the edge of it straight up. If you pull that and you got a good flat brush, you'll be able to get a good edge on that brush and perfect your stripes in there. See, I'm going to go all the way up one side, then I'll reverse it and go down the other. See how straight that comes up there? If you got a good brush, those will go in real easy. And like I said, I would rather load my brush often and have less paint, more control over it with less paint than I would to put a lot of paint in there and then have trouble getting it spread around. Okay, so I'm coming right up to the top. So I've got that side in. See, now I'm going to reverse my teapot, and I'm going to come back over to the other side where the hatch marks is at on the other side, and I'm going to come down the other side of that stripe. Straight on down. I'm going to do 3 or 4 of these in here so you can see what I'm doing, because I don't like to keep the videos too long. Now I'm filling in the middle. I'm going back. After I got the edges in, I'm going back and fill in the middle across that piece. I've done many tea sets in my years. And we make a teapot. My husband always did it, but my son does it now, and I'm getting ready to do some. He takes a teapot and turns it into a lamp for me and puts the lamp works down inside, makes a night light. So we got some teapots in this week and going to do that. And sometimes you can my throat's excuse me please. My throat's a little scratchy. Sometimes I'm lucky to find teapots on eBay. So you can go on eBay and look for teapots and find you some on there. In fact, last week I searched on eBay and I bought about 10. Now I'm going right over to the next one, to the next stripe. Like I said, let the edge of that brush do the edge of your stripe so that you get a nice clean edge on that stripe. Now when I get up there close to the top, I have to reverse it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this. Before reversing it, I'm just going to go on around here and put in the next one. So you can do that. You can go all the way around one side of your piece, making the stripes all one side of the stripes. Then we can reverse it and do all the other sides. That way we're not flipping it up and down continuously. Work smarter. If you're working to sell, which I do, I've always sold, you're working to sell, you want to count your time. So the time you spend on something, you got to spend the least amount of time on it to make the most money or to get paid for your time. I've always been a very fast painter, and I very seldom paint one of anything. I'm doing this for class. But normally, if I was sitting here painting teapots by myself, I'd be painting 2 or 3 at the same time. Because while one thing is drying, now see, I've got those, I'm going to reverse it, come right back in and put the other side on. If you're working on more than one item at a time, instead of worrying about drying it, you can do part of it, set it aside, and while that's drying, you work on another piece. And then by the time you've finished 3 or 4 pieces in all just a little more than time when you would have painted one. I do the same thing when I'm prepping pieces. When I'm outside spray painting and prepping pieces, I'm spray painting a number of items at one time. Because when you spray paint, you want to wait till the next day. You don't want to spray paint something today and go right in on it and try to paint it, because your paint will peel right off. You have to let it cure for about 24 hours before you paint on it. Okay. You could do this one in black and white. I could have had it in, done it in, left the bottom white and done it in black and white. So you can choose your colors, do any colors you like. Okay. Now I've just about got my stripes in. Reverse your brush and pull up. One more and I got them in. If you're watching me on YouTube and you have any questions or shoot me a question, you can always message me or ask a question here on YouTube. or you can go to my Facebook page. Like I said, if you go into Vintage to Chic, Google Vintage to Chic, you'll find me all over the place. I don't know what's wrong with my voice today. You can, I have a Etsy group where I sell my finished items. Then I have another one where I do digital designing. Okay, I'll put those links in below. Okay, now see, we got all the stripes. I went all the way around and got the stripes all the way around. Now I want to shade those stripes. I want to do a little bit of shade and a little bit of highlight. The more you work on a piece, the more dimension you put in it, the better it looks. So what I've done is I got me out a little bit of a teal in a metallic color. And I'm going to put a little bit of that on my palette here. And I'm going to take just a touch of black and put it, I'm using just almost a pin, just a little pin touch of black on that, because I want to just darken that a little bit, that teal. You choose a color, if you're going to shade, you choose a color in the same family of a darker value. If you had green, you would choose a color of a darker shade of green, or you would put a little black in it to change the color a little bit. I want this to show, you know, but not to be harsh. And I put one right here, which is hard for you to see. Then I've got a little bit of painting medium on my brush, which is just glazing medium. That's a body to help move your paint without using water. So I'm gonna pick a little bit of that up on my brush, blot it a little bit. Then I'm on the left side of my brush alone, I'm gonna pick up a little corner of that. Got too much medium on there. Pick up a little corner of that paint. Then I'm going to blend it over here on my palette till it just comes down my brush and flows off. You know, it goes from dark to light on my brush. Now I'm going to come right here and right beside the blue, I'm going to set that down on there and pull it down. Now I'm working in the blue this time. I hope you can see that. See how I've made just a darker streak down that. Now I'm going to do the right side of every one of my stripes that way. Pick up a little paint, blend it on my palette, come in here and pull it down on the right side of the stripe. This, just like I said, just gives me some dimension. When it's all done, said and done, I'll have some dimension on that because I've got some different shades of color in there. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way around working on the right side of the stripe, which would be the left side of the turquoise color. Okay, now I'll get up in here in behind my spout here. I got to turn my brush to the right direction to get that in there. Okay, right down here. Okay. Allergies are terrible right now, as most of you know, so my throat's a little scratchy. Okay. And I hear my dog barking. She's out looking for somebody. Maybe the mailman's in the yard. Okay, now you can see that a little bit better. You can see a little bit better there. See the little, when I turn it, see that little shade line that goes right down that stripe? Okay, so I'm down around that far. Each time you may need, when your paint doesn't move good, then you need to pick up a little more of that glazing medium to get your paint. Your paint should just fall right off there. I'm using the full flat of the brush, but there's only paint on the left side. Left side of the brush, flat, lay it down flat, pull it, and your paint is only on one side of your brush. That means it just fades from dark to light. Okay. Got one more and I got all those in. Okay, now I put a little more dimension in that. See? Now on the opposite side of that blue, I'm going to put a little bit of white. So I've got some white paint over here on my palette, and I'm going to reverse because I'm right-handed and I like to pull my paint to the right. I'm going to reverse this up and down. So this time I'm going to pick up a little bit of my painting medium, and I'm going to go over here and pick up just a touch of my white. Doesn't take very much because that white is strong. And I'm going to come right back in with some white, and on that same blue spot, the opposite side of where I put that blue, put the dark color, I'm putting a light shade. Now see, I've got a dark line and a light line on there. And I'm going to do that all the way around the picture again. Coming up with the white ones. It's just the opposite. All this is in the turquoise. I haven't put anything in the black. When you're doing this kind of stuff, you want to be sure it's your own design, that you're not, doing anything that has an infringement or anything on it. Okay? So you got to work. You can work with the checks and the stripes, but you got to put your own spin on them, not somebody else's. Okay? Got a little bit too much on my brush there. Pick up a little bit of paint on that corner, blend it on my palette, go in on my thing. Okay, so I'm going all the way up through the blue. So we've got a dark side in that blue and we've got a light side. Coming in, pull it up. Okay, now I got them all in there. Now see, you can see now that I've got the white in there, you can see the white is the stripe here and then a dark stripe on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to jump up to the top. I have painted my lid the same color as my piece up here, and I'll be working on that. But the top of this I'm going to do with the same turquoise and some white, but I'm going to use a sponge brush. Use a sponge brush and my fingers. Sometimes I'm going to use my fingers this way, and sometimes I'm going to use a sponge. This is a sea sponge, just a sea sponge. You can get these at Hobby Lobby, any craft store, you can get sea sponges. And you want to tear it till it's got lots of little holes in it. You'll see there, see how many little holes and stuff. It's just a natural sea sponge. What I'm going to do is use this edge, and I have wet this in the water and wring it out real good. You just want it damp. You don't want it to drip water, okay? Now, over here on my palette, I've got some blue and some white. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that blue over here with my sponge, dab it over here, and I'm going to go over here in this white, and I'm going to kind of mix the two, but I don't want to keep dabbing it until it turns into a pale blue. I want to be able to see some of that dark blue and some of that white in there. And I'm going to go right in here and put this on here. Use this sponge, and each time I pick up paint, I may pick up a little bit more of the darker blue, and then the next time I may pick up more of the white. And you're going to play with it until you achieve a color that you like. Now I may have to go back and add some spots where I painted those stripes. I may have to go back in and put some, repaint a little bit, because I'll get some of this on my stripes naturally as we go down to that bottom there. And that's when I get down to those edges in the top, I will go switch over to doing it with my fingers. See, I'm getting a little bit down there now, but I can go back in and repaint that on either color because I'm using the white. Okay. Take that sponge and hold it kind of tight in your hands so that you're just dabbing it. Picking up white and the blue. Sometimes I just pick up blue, sometimes I just pick up white. Okay, now see, I've got the majority of it, got it on there. Now I'm going to go in with my fingers. I'm going to just take my 2 fingers and I'm going to pick up a little bit of white, a little bit of painting medium, a little bit of white, a little bit of blue, and I'm going to come back in here and just kind of pity pat right down around the bottom here and where I'm getting in there, just to add a little color along that bottom spot there. I'm just finger painting now, and this is what I like. I'm making some of it a little more dark and some of it a little lighter. I'm just going to keep doing this until I achieve a whatever suits me, okay? Working back and forth with those colors. I'm going to put a stripe down here around the bottom so I don't have to worry about getting, right down here to the bottom of that, because I'm going to put a stripe around there. Probably a gold stripe. Get a little more of this blue up here, the darker shade. The biggest tea set I've sold was done in these colors, the largest. I did 2 teapots, a tray, cream and sugar, candle sticks, the whole thing for a lady. Okay, I think I've just about got it. Now, to get in close to those handles right there, I want it to be close to those handles, I'm going to have to go down to a small brush. Put a little white in there. Now I'm going to wet my hands real good there and clean that paint off my hands. Okay. Now I'm going to take a small paintbrush, probably the same one I just used, or I can take one that's a little stiffer. You can use a brush that you've half wore out. When you get to doing stuff where you have to kind of pity pat the brush, choose a brush that you've used before and it's scraggly on the end, and that's what you're going to dab with. Okay, see, I got to get around this handle right here real good. So I'm going over here and pick up a little bit of medium, a little bit of paint with that brush, and go right in here close to the handle. Too much medium on my brush, so that it's real close in there. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of that highlight, that color that I put in down below the shade. I'm going to add a little bit of that metallic color. Just kind of pity pat that in there in a few places. See, I've picked up some of that. This was what I mixed, the color that I mixed to make that mix of color for the shading. This is just a little bit of that I mixed, and I'm just going to put a little bit of it in here. And I'm going to do that with my finger, because I can get it done a whole lot faster if I do it with my finger. Plus I can move it around a little bit better. So I'm going to right back in with a little bit of that blue metallic here and there. Your paint begins to dry, then you may need to pick up a little bit of the painting medium that I told you about. Okay. Uh-oh, got that one too strong, so I'm going to have to go in and dab it, take some of it off. You can always go back and dab with your white. This should suit you. We all like different things, so whatever color you want, maybe you was doing it in lavenders, or you're using different colors. You don't have to use it to make it blue. So I've done them in green, I've done them in all different colors like this. So you suit you, you do you, and whatever suits you as much as you like. When you're stippling the colors on, you do as much as you like or as little as you like. There's no set thing that tells you how to do it. Now I am going to come up here and put some right along the top edge, because I want where my lid's going to sit down there. I don't want there to be a space between my lid and the pot there that shows white. So I'm going to come in here and put that blue all around the top edge of my teapot. Okay. Some of that darker shade. Okay. Now, I think I've got it. See? Now right down the bottom in my black in a few spots, I'm seeing some of that paint. So I'm going to go back down here and I'm going to pick up a little bit of black and go in here and hit these spots where I got that paint down on my black. I got the blue down on my black. I'm just going to hit the spots and take it back off. Just go all the way around and check it. Okay. Just about got it. Now I blew my lid. I think I might just leave my lid blue and put some dots in it. See what that looks like. I think I will. Now I've got to put a little, now see, after I set that on there, I can see after I put it on there that I've got a little bit too much white right there where the stopper, the thing was that flipped the lid back up. So I need to go right back in with some paint and dab it on that. You don't want to have an edge show around up there after you set your lid back on there. And I'm going to just leave that lid in the blue shade and then put some polka dots in it. Okay? So I think I've got those two. Okay? Got that done. Okay? Got it all the way around now. Okay? Now I'm going to paint this black. I'm going to paint my stem. I'm going to paint all this black, and then we're going to overcoat it with another color. Boy, the allergies are driving me nuts. Somebody's been outside mowing grass, so I can smell it, so it's bothering me. Okay, I need a brush that I can come in here. Let's see what I got. I need a little bit bigger one than that. Let's try this one over here. I've got dozens and dozens of brushes sitting over here. Okay, I'm going to go in now and I'm going to paint the bottom of my teapot with the black. Going around using the flat edge of the brush again. You use whatever brush is comfortable for you. If you need to use a smaller one to get up right up close to that teapot there where that blue's at, then go in there with a smaller brush. Everybody controls their brushes and stuff different, so you work with whatever tools is the most comfortable for you. I can go all the way around that now and do that top edge first and then switch over to a little bigger brush and go on down with it, because I don't want to get that black paint up in my blue up there. Getting your blue in your black won't matter, but the opposite is hard to get back out. If you get the black in that blue, it's hard to get it covered up again. The turquoise is what I'm calling blue. I'm going all the way around with that smaller brush till I get right up into those edges. Then we'll flip over to a different brush. When I'm going to use some gold on this, but I want to put the black in first as a base coat. Just try to keep your fingers out of the spots up here where you've just painted till that's dry. It dries pretty quick. And if you want, you can take the dryer and dry that where you finger painted up there. Get that dried out of your way. Okay. Okay, now I went all the way around with that one. Stick it over there in my water, and I'm going to take my larger brush now and go right down and paint these feet. This will get varnished. If I spray varnish, which I do a lot of times, if something has a lot of little intricate places in it like this is, then a lot of times I spray. And when I do spray varnish, I use Rust-Oleum's 2-in-1 clear acrylic in a gloss finish. If I'm doing this, I would use gloss. If I was doing something real country, I would use their satin. When you buy white paint to spray with, if you're using the Rust-Oleum spray white, be sure you get a matte finish. You do not want to spray something with enamel or a glossy finish because it will not work. Okay. You need kind of a scruffy brush to do this with, something you can get down in all those little spots on there. Be sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching me on YouTube, be sure you subscribe and come back and follow me. I'm just now trying to build my YouTube, so I've had it on there for about a year, but I haven't really played with it much till the last couple of weeks, and now I've decided I want to get it moving. And the more watchers we get, the better. Nothing hard about this. This is not a hard project to do. It's just time. Kind of like color book painting. It's just time getting your pattern on there and the time to do it with. It's not anything hard. Not complicated at all. Now, I've got the black painted down on the bottom of that. And I'm going to go up here now and I'm going to paint the handle. So rather than get down in that handle, I'll switch to a bigger brush in a minute, but I'm going to get as close in as I can and go ahead and paint my handle in here. Then I'll have to go down to a smaller brush too to get it up close to the blue part. Everything needs to have that coat of black on it here. Then we'll come back in with some gold over top of the black. And coming right on around here. Out to get it. Kind of run out of things to talk about. I like painting the checks and the stripes, and then I've done furniture, I've done it all. Anymore I just do smaller things. I've worked craft shows. I've been in this business, girls, for well over 45 years. Started with toll painting. Way back in, I had a shop, had a brick and mortar store for 12 years. Okay, now I've got to get a smaller brush to get down in there, so I might as well jump over here and do this part. Get all the black in I can with this brush before I go down to a smaller one to finish out the detail stuff. See, my blue is all dry now. My turquoise up on there is all dry. I live in the Smoky Mountains, girls. It's vacation time in Tennessee. So most of you, when you vacation, a lot of you have been to Gatlinburg. If you've ever visited the Gatlinburg Craftsman's Fair in the past years, you've probably saw me there, or maybe even have purchased merchandise from me, because I worked that show for well over 35 years, since the 80s I worked it last year. But I'm through with the shows now. I went back last year after COVID. I stopped, and then I went back last year for just that 1 year. But I'm not going to do them anymore. Too hard. I'm too old now. Too hard to sit up and tear down and get all that. Okay, now I've got to go back down here and kind of hit the spots that I see now that I missed. After that dries, you're going to have little white spots to show up that you missed. So go back down and check that real good. And then we're going to go down to a smaller brush and fill in the little spaces that we've missed up there that we couldn't get in with the bigger brush. Okay, so I'm going to put that one up here in the water and go down to my smaller one. Oh, I got a whole spot there that I missed. Okay, I keep a towel in my lap or a rag of some kind to wipe my brushes and stuff on. Okay. Put out a little more paint, and right back in here I've got one whole little streak there that I missed. Okay, now I want to get right down here close to the spots around the around the spout. This one will be in my Etsy shop probably in a few days. Okay. I keep saying okay, like I can, you can answer me if it's okay. I believe I got that one now. Now let's go back over to the handle and get the spots we've missed on the handle. Up here, right up close to the top, we got to fill in all this little bit right here. A little bit more, we'll have it. We're not too far from being done. We're going to put some gold on this, some colors on it, and we will be done with it, except for varnishing. I think the more coats of varnish you put on a piece, the better it is. The more protection you have for cleaning it. You know, you want to protect it good. I just got a little bit of blue on there, or got a little bit of black on my blue. While that's not dried good, I'm going to go in there and dab it a little bit. Okay. I'm used to sticking my brush in my mouth, and I forget I can't talk when it's in there. Okay. Almost. You gotta just be careful when you get down in there close to your blue. That's why you go down to a brush that's comfortable for you to do that. Having the right tools means a whole lot, makes your work a whole lot easier. Having the right tools, the right brushes, the right tools to work with is a whole lot, means a whole lot in your craft business. I've been working on Christmas stuff and fall. If you're a crafter and you sell, then now's the time you should have your fall things, getting your fall line ready to go. And then we now have Christmas in July, so you gotta have some Christmas stuff for the July thing. If a person's a decorator, they buy holiday stuff all year round. So, I mean, if they like to decorate for the holidays. Okay, I've got the black on. Now I can start right back where I started with the black. That's all dry. Okay, so I'm going to go in and put gold over top of the handles and the bottom down here. And since I need to paint the top of that gold too, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to use Emperor's Gold over top of the black. This gives me like an antique gold color. So I'm going to take this metallic, is Deco Arts metallic, and it's called Emperor's Gold. And I'm going to put this right over top of the black that I just put in there. And that gives me a real pretty finish, putting it over the black. So I'm going to start right back down here where I did this, and I'm going to go right back in with the gold. Now if you just put this gold on by itself, it doesn't cover. You know, you'd put multiple colors over it and it wouldn't be nowhere near having that antique gold look unless you have a base color underneath it. This is one that I really like. I've used this a lot on lots. It's pretty on trims for trays, and if I was doing this as a set, then I would be painting a tray and a cream and sugar bowl to match this. This is just an odd teapot, so I'm going to just sell this one by itself. Okay. There is a video on my page here on my YouTube. There's another video here you can watch that teaches you all about the construction of checks and stripes. You can see how we lay out, how I create a pattern for Harlequin, or how I create stripes and stuff on things. It'll explain it all to you. So you can go right in and watch that one too, and you'll learn more about how to create stripes and checks. Creating them on a round surface is a whole lot different than creating them on a flat surface, because most people want their stripes and their checks and things to be all the same size. Well, that's not possible. If you were putting checks on this, the middle checks would be fatter, and as they go up and down, the checks would get smaller. In the same way with the stripes. And the Harlequin, a lot of people call it diamonds. A lot of the Harlequin pattern is very easy to put on using the papers, using the drawings as a guide to get them on there, to make them come out even. They're supposed to all touch on the corners. But if you'll go in and watch that video, you'll be able to see how that I do that. Now if you wanted to put another gold on here, you could use the liquid gold and went right in and painted it over top of the white, and you'd get a different look. So like I said, it's whatever you like, whatever pleases you is exactly what you want to do. So if you wanted to put, if you wanted to use another metallic, you could use a blue metallic. So if I was going to use a blue metallic, I would mix a little bit of black with my blue metallic and make it so that it's a solid color and not opaque, and then you could just paint this with that. See how pretty that is on the bottom there? See that gold? That's a really pretty color. Now I'm going to jump up here and put it on the handle. I'm going to try to get into the handle here. When you're putting this second coat on, it's not as hard as putting that black because you're not covering white. And if you miss a spot, you know, if you miss a little black spot, it's no big deal, because it's just, you know, it looks good anyway. It's not something that you have to worry that I'm covering every little speck of it. So I can go in here with a little bit bigger brush and get right close to the edges. You want to be careful not to get old gold over on your blue. You learn how to control that brush, and you let your brush do your work for you. The right kind of brush, doing the right job, the right kind of brush, and you got it licked, you got it made. But you would not go in here with like a round brush or what. You got to have the right tools. Like I said, you got to have what you need. So this is a flat brush, and it's soft. It's not a bristle brush. It's a soft, flat, soft brush. This is just a big one. This one's called Fine Touch. I think these come from Hobby Lobby. Fine Touch brushes do. The bigger brush you can work in an area, the less work you have to do. If you go in here with a size 2 brush, a little tiny one, you're going to be working a long time. So the bigger brush you can control in the area you're working in, the better off you are. The less time you spend. Okay. About got that one. I like this color. Gotta get right down here to the bottom. We're almost an hour in. I don't like to get them too long. I hope you've stayed with me till the end. And I hope I've taught you a little something. And I just got my black. Hit that a little bit with the gold. I do lives on Facebook. I have a private group, and I try to go live on my regular page on Facebook, but due to family things going on right now in my family, I've not been able to go live much on my regular page right now. Okay, so I just have to jump in and do a video when the time comes available. I'm over here on the spout now. This is my last section to get in here. I like these colors. This turquoise has been a popular color for me. You could do this on a, like I said, I've done it on water pictures. When I've got teapots in this week, I got some really pretty shaped ones. When you go into eBay, if you go into eBay to buy a teapot, just to put a search in there for vintage silver plate teapots, and you'll have all kinds of them come up. And you have to take your time and look through them, because you want to look for the best price you got, so, and make sure there's not anything wrong with them. Sometimes I get lucky and run into them at a thing. I was at a thrift store yesterday, but they had one there, but they had it priced way too high. Okay. If you're buying something you're going to use for yourself, you can spend a little more money if it's something you're going to paint and you're going to keep. But if you're buying something to resell, you got to consider that when you're buying the item. Can I sell that and make money on it? If it's priced too high for you to make a fair money and get paid for your time, then I leave it alone. You never want to just sell something to get rid of it, to be selling. You want to make a profit on it. Get paid for the time you put into it, along with your product. Okay, now I'll paint the lid too. I'll paint this lid black. I'm not going to do that with you in the thing, but I will put some polka dots on here, and I'll paint this the same color of the black and gold. But in the interest of time, I'm going to finish this one for you so you can see what I've done. Now I'm going to go back in here, and this little stripe right around here, I'm going to first put a black stripe around there. And I got to get me a little brush that will go around that edge. Very easy. I don't want it to be very big. So let's see what we've got here. I want something I can just pull right around through there. And I'm not seeing nothing real handy, so let's see. I'm going to try it with this, and if I don't like it, then I'm going to go in with the color of other color of gold, my liquid gold, and see. But I'm going to come right around here and put a brush I see is too big. Okay, I'm going to take a stripe and go right around this right around this spot here. Have to be very careful with that. You know, I might need a round brush. Might do better with a round one, I think. Okay, now let's try this one. Since it's such a small space there. Yeah, better with a round brush. There's a little ledge between the pot, the top of the pot, and that bottom, and that's what I'm going around. I'm trying to stay right on that ledge with that. So like I said, I don't want much paint on that brush because I don't want that paint to get out of control for me. So I'm using very little paint. My little finger is always my guide when I paint. I set that little finger down first, and then I pull my brush toward me, and that little finger allows me to control that brush. If you just go in like this and try painting that, that's very, very hard to do. Okay, but if you set your finger down, or you've got a guide there, you know, something to hold you in place, then it goes right around real easy. Now I'm going to have to pull it back this way a little bit because I'm getting behind that handle. Okay. When you're using a round brush, the straighter up you hold it, the finer the line is. If you want it to spread out a little bit, you can press down and use it on the side of that brush. But if you want to make a little narrow line with it, then you hold it straight up and down. I taught painting classes in my shop. We had painting classes in my shop that I had my shop for 12 years. We had every kind of craft class you could imagine, from macrame to painting to cross stitch to candy making, cake decorating. But painting has always been, after I learned to paint, that was what I wanted to do. So I've taught classes too. I taught live classes for about 25 years. Okay, now I got a black stripe around there. I'm going to go back in and cover that black with the gold. Okay. So I've cleaned my brush in the water. Now I'm going to pick up my gold. I've got to put out just a smidge more paint. And take my gold right back in over top of that black so that we change it a little bit. It's going to look more like the trim than just having a black line around through there. Pick up paint often. Take it as far as it'll go, and then pick up your next one. Okay. Right on around. This is really pretty. I'll have to go back that way a little bit because I'm behind that, and I got a little bit too much down there, so I'm going to grab it real quick with a clean brush. If you get a little bit too much paint on there, or you get outside your lines a little bit, grab a wet brush real quick and you can get that off there. But if you let it set very long, then it's going to be a problem. You're going to be having to paint over top of it. I like it, I like it. Okay, now see how pretty that is? We've got the gold stripe all the way around there. And you could, if you can control it enough, you could come right down through here and put a gold stripe on every outside of each one of these little black spots. You could do that, which I may do that, but I'll not do that on here because that'll take a while. Okay, I will go back in now and real quickly and put the black on this piece and see if we can get it done so that you can see it all put together. Then of course you'll see a picture when I get it all done. When you're looking at the video, you'll see the finished picture. But I'm just going in and painting the top knot here on this lid, painting it black all the way around. First we'll get the black on there, and then we'll get the gold on it. Just like we did the other. But I just left it the solid blue instead of trying to make it with the white on it. This matches more to the bottom. About supper time. Okay, just putting a coat of black all over that top knot. Got to get all in all the little spots on there. Be sure if you have any questions, just ask them down below or shoot me a message and I'll try my best to help you. Okay, put that on there. Now that's going to have to dry a minute. So I'm going to sit it on here and show you what it looks like. And I'm going to touch this blue right here. I've got a little white spot there, so I've got to touch that up with blue. You go back and touch up all your little spots that you need to touch, you know, so that everything's covered there. Okay. Have all that's covered good. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the dots on so you can see how they look. And then when the black is dry, I'll just put a coat of the stuff on the black. But for doing the dots, I'm going to use black dots around this top of this teapot. And I'm going to use the wood end of my brush, this part right here. And you need some black. It's fresh. You know, you got, of course, I paint with a wet palette. This is a wet palette that I use. It has a watered sponge underneath it, and that paint will sit there all day and stay good all day. So I'm going to go right around the top of this with a row of dots. Just kind of eyeballing them around through here. Can't make, coming right on around. Okay, I got it, girls. See how pretty that is? Hey, we're just a little over an hour. That is gorgeous. I thank you for coming along with me, and I hope you'll follow along, become a regular watcher of ours, and come and visit me on Facebook or shoot me a message if I can help you any. I'm out of here, ladies. I'll catch you on the next round.